Hi everyone, I am Jo Baxter and I am the author of the Viola Pumpernickel Mysteries. Now the reason for me doing this video is to give you guys at home a little snippet of the sort of thing I do when I go to visit schools. As a children's author, I try and see as many kids as I can at as many different schools as I can to introduce you guys to my books. So far I have written 2 books. I'm hoping to write 5 in the series, but we shall see. That is the plan. My first book is Viola Pumpernickel and the Emerald Lady. The second book is Viola Pumpernickel and the Ruby Dancer. Now, as you can probably work out, they are a series. This is the first, this is the second. Then obviously the third, the fourth and the fifth will continue on in that vein. When I do school visits, I am usually there for anywhere between 45 minutes to all day. But don't panic, this is not going to be an all-day video. I can promise you that. It won't even be 40 minutes. It'll probably be somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes, probably. Again, at the school, what I do is I read an extract from my first book, The Emerald Lady, and ask you guys a few questions about what we've just read. I will then set you guys a little challenge and you'll go off in groups, but I understand that can't happen today. So before we get started, I suggest you get a pen and paper at the ready, and that will help you if you choose to do a little project that I'll set at the end of the extract. Also, I will provide you with a link to a creative writing handbook that I have created alongside some school librarians and some school teachers. A lot of it you can do without knowing my books, but there is a question section at the back that you may struggle with if you don't know the text. So obviously you guys can just ignore that. Okay, so another reason why I am doing this video is because I understand that a lot of you are going to be at home when you're used to being at school, and it's all going to be a bit weird and confusing and perhaps a little bit scary because you hear all these snippets about what's going on in the world. I'm not going to talk about that because, to be honest, I don't know enough about it. But we're all in it together. So let's just have fun, hopefully learn a few things, and it's just something a little bit different. So, my book, Viola Pumpernickel and the Emerald Lady. I'll read the blurb, which is the description of the book on the back. I will then read an extract from the book, and I'll ask you guys some questions. Okay? So, the blurb. 12-year-old Viola Pumpernickel is a people watcher. She loves to sit on the step of her father's bakery, making up stories about the weird and wonderful folk who pass by. When she witnesses a terrifying robbery late one evening, nobody believes her. Determined to prove she is more than just a girl with a big imagination, Viola sets out to solve the crime herself. Together with her brother Teddy, her best friend Flo, and the mysterious Emerald Lady, Viola uncovers a plot far more dangerous than anybody could have ever imagined in this exciting Victorian mystery. So, here we go, boys and girls. Are you sitting comfortably? Chapter 1, The Bravest Girl in London. As the blaze ripped through the building, she stood watching the flames flickering wildly. The heat was almost unbearable. Loud crackling and hissing from within the shop sent a shiver down her spine. Watching from the street, the wall of fire was making her skin tingle, but she knew she had to help the old man trapped inside. Boom! An explosion inside the shop forced her and her fellow bystanders back as the window shattered. Viola hit the floor with such force that all the air was sucked out of her tiny body. She lay for a second, struggling to breathe, struggling to move. Her ears felt peculiar, as if her head had been wrapped in wool, and the once roaring sound of the fire was now a distant bubble. Eventually she found her feet and took in as many breaths as she could to feel better. After a moment or two, her senses seemed to wake up, and the pandemonium around her became instantly loud and frantic. Her back screamed in agony from the fall, but she had to get up. Having lived on this street all her life, she knew the buildings well, and she knew there'd be a back door. Pushing through the crowd, who were also trying to recover from the blast, she ran down the winding, narrow street to the alley that ran behind the row of shops. Viola could see the thick plumes of grey-black smoke puffing from the upstairs window. She needed something to climb over the fence. It took her a few attempts, but eventually, using a discarded wooden crate, she managed to scramble over and land on the other side, tearing the skirt of her dress as she did so. Thankfully, the fire hadn't reached the back door yet. She ran and banged on the glass, hoping the old man could hear her. She was desperate to save him, but with every passing second, her hopes sank. Maybe I'm too late. She stopped beating on the door as tears filled her eyes. She looked to the ground, deeply saddened. She had known Mr. Jeffers all her life and was a frequent visitor to his bookshop. "Help me," cried a weak voice from behind the door. She grabbed the handle and pulled at it desperately, but it wouldn't budge. Viola looked around for something to break the window, and seeing a large rock sitting a few feet away from her, she went to lift it. It was far heavier than she had expected, so she let out a moan of frustration. She took a step back as tears streamed down her face, the man's cries for help echoing through the building. "I am not giving up." Using all her strength, she slowly lifted the rock and launched it at the glass, shattering it into 1,000 tiny pieces. Through the fuzzy smoke that poured out, Viola could see Mr. Jeffers staggering to the opening. Dazed and confused by what was happening around him, he frantically grabbed at the smashed window, cutting his hands on the remnants of broken glass. "Stop!" Viola said, pulling open her coat. She ripped it from her body and lay it across the dangerous shards. "Now climb up," she yelled, pointing to a table that sat beneath the window. Mr. Jeffers obeyed and was soon hanging out of the window. Viola grabbed his shoulders and pulled him down to the ground. His breathing sounded shallow and bubbly. He struggled to find clean air as Viola rubbed his back. "We need to move," Viola said, pulling Mr. Jeffers to his feet as the crackling grew louder. "You saved me. Thank you, my angel," he spluttered. "I had to save you, Mr. Jeffers," she smiled. "You need to tell me which book to read next." Mr. Jeffers laughed in response as red-hot flames shot through the broken window. Viola sat on a wall a little way away from the scene of the blast, watching the firemen put out the last of the fire. It was finally under control, having been burning for hours. She had been the one to initially raise the alarm, having smelt the burning whilst she was out running an errand for her father. She had seen smoke seeping from an upstairs window and cried out for help. A lad, who was busy trying to break a piece of wood against a wall, ran off to the fire station to get help. Viola's family owned a bakery in the same area, and they had become very good friends with Mr. Jeffers over the years. His shop, Jeffers Books, was one of Viola's most favourite places to spend an afternoon, looking at all the wonderful books in peace and quiet. "Excuse me, miss," said a fireman appearing at her side. "Yes, sir?" she said, looking up at him. He was the tallest man she had ever seen, and his face was covered in soot. He looked like he needed a warm bath and a good night's sleep. "I understand you helped to get Mr. Jeffers out. You'll be glad to know he's with the doctor, and he should be just fine." Viola closed her eyes and smiled as relief washed over her. "Here, for your trouble. Treat yourself to a nice cream cake." He handed her a coin. "Thank you, sir," Viola beamed. "What's your name, miss?" "Viola Pumpernickel, sir," she replied proudly. "Well, Viola Pumpernickel. You might just be the bravest girl in London. Okay, so that was the first couple of pages of the first chapter, and hopefully that's given you an indication of the sort of character that Viola is. Now, she is the heroine of the book, the hero. So what I want you guys to do now with your pen and paper is just write down what you think the characteristics are of a good hero, whether it's a man or a woman. They don't have to be superheroes, they don't have to have capes, they don't have to be able to fly, just somebody that you think is heroic. Before you do that, perhaps think about someone in your life that you consider to be a hero, whether that be a doctor or a nurse or a fireman or a police officer or a soldier or your teacher or even your mum and dad, or somebody that you know that stands up for things and does something that perhaps other people wouldn't if they're brave and they're fearless. So like I say, just take a couple of minutes. You can pause this video. Take a couple of minutes. Write down the different character traits that you think makes a good hero. So once you've done that, I then want you to turn the piece of paper over and write down the traits that you think makes a good villain, or I should say a bad villain. Because every book with a hero has to have a bad guy. And my book is no different. My character that is the baddie, well, there's actually two, because there's the main baddie who is called the Governor, and then his little sidekick is called George Plum. Now, for those of you who don't know what a sidekick is an assistant or a little helper for the hero or the baddie. Heroes can have sidekicks too. Like here, Batman's sidekick is Robin, for example. So on your piece of paper, write down all the traits that you think a baddie would have, and you'll be quite surprised, I think, how similar the two characters are. So again, just take a couple of minutes to do that. You can pause the video, like I say. So once you've done that, what I think would be a great idea would be for you guys to come up with your own story featuring a hero and a villain. Come up with a good story, a good character background as well, because you need to really, really work out the background of characters, where they come from, how old they are, why they are doing what they are doing. Especially with the villain, I think. What are they after? What are they trying to achieve? And how is the villain going to stop them? Does the villain stop them? Because not every baddie is caught. So that's your project, to come up with a story that features a good guy and a bad guy. I want you to think about when it is set. Is it set present day? Is it set in the future? Is it set in the past? And if so, when? What sort of environment are they in? Are they wealthy? Do they have a lot of money? Are they quite poor? Are they somewhere in between? Are they famous? Are they normal people? I think that would be a really good idea for you to sit down and take a couple of minutes to think up the background of the story and then just get writing. Your story needs to have a great beginning, a great middle, and a fantastic ending. So good luck with that. And I would love to read your stories as and when you've written them. Perhaps come up with a bit of artwork for your cover. Draw the characters if you want to. And have fun with it, because it's your story. You can go anywhere, you can do anything. These characters can be anyone that you want them to be. The story can be just a couple of pages long. It could be a full book. Have fun with it and go nuts. And like I say, there is a creative writing handbook that you can download and print off absolutely free. Like I say, towards the end of the creative writing book, it does focus a little bit on this story and the characters and the events that are in this book. So you may not be able to do that bit, because like I say, they are designed for when I visit schools and when the kids buy the books, they take the workbook home, and ideally they finish that once they've read the book. At the schools, I also do a question and answer session at the end of the workshops. Obviously I'm not with you, so if you have any questions that you want to ask me, whether it be about my book, about me, my life as an author, how I publish my books, anything you like, then you can email me. My email is thejobaxter@outlook.co.uk, or you can get me through my website. There's a contact page, or you can find me on social media. I'm the Jo Baxter on Instagram and Twitter, and I am Jo Baxter Author on Facebook. So thank you very much for watching and listening, and I hope you enjoy it. Like I say, it's just a short little snippet, a very condensed version of what I do when I go to the schools. I hope you have fun, and keep safe, keep well, and I will hopefully do some more videos for you. Thanks, bye.